Hey YouTube, it's Christian Santiago here, peak performance coach that helps executives, investors, and surgeons eliminate burnout and operate at their peak in 90 days without adding more to their schedule. So in this YouTube video, I'm going to show you 4 reasons why burnout is most likely going to be inevitable in your life instead of it being optional. And I'm going to go through these 4 reasons, and by the end of the 4 reasons, I'm also going to give you the antithesis of it and some specific practices you can do so burnout becomes optional in your life rather than inevitable. So enjoy the video. So most of my clients end up doing about 60 to 70 hours a week. That's about an average of my clients. In fact, even on the extreme side, one of my clients recently that I connected with last week, he did 96 hours as a trauma surgeon. And so the real question is like, man, he did not actually sound burned out. So it's like, how did he get there? What are some of the things or some of the shifts that he made that made burnout optional rather than inevitable? And so I'm going to give you 4 reasons why in the past, most of my clients, burnout was just an inevitable thing as a part of their life. And what are the things that we changed that allowed it to be optional for them? So that way they were able to still put the 60 hours that they were normally doing, but they still had enough for their family. They had enough for themselves. They also had enough to then push forward and make real progress rather than living in oftentimes what a lot of high achievers fall into, which is productivity autopilot, where they get a lot of activity but not really going forward. And without having a mental breakdown just because of the amount of sheer hours that they're doing, okay? So 4 reasons why burnout might actually be inevitable in your life rather than optional. The first reason is because you focus on the hours. You focus on hours in and hours out. So this is a big problem because at the end of the day, when it comes to work-life balance, most people want to get a work-life balance, and when they feel like they're not putting the same amount of hours in every area of their life, they feel out of balance. Ultimately, so burnout has less to do with the hours you put in and more to do with the feelings you have during those hours. What does that mean? Well, it means that instead of focusing on the hours you're putting in, focus on the feelings that you're producing or that you want to produce. Almost all of my clients, we first start off on what are the top 2 emotions that you want to be defined by this week, that if you were to really focus on will cause you to live at your highest and operate at your highest, regardless if you're executive, investor, search, doesn't matter what environment you find yourself in. What is the feeling you want to produce? What is the feeling you want to generate? Because instead of allowing the hours that you put in to define the feelings you should have, you should define it for yourself. So that way, everything you're putting into, it feels like you're getting that return on investment. And it also allows you to then focus on the activities or the responsibilities or the things that are going to directly produce those feelings in your life. Because ultimately you break down less on the hours you're putting in and more to do on the feelings you put on those hours. Here's how I know. Have you ever been in a conversation that it was just a 5-minute conversation and it felt like forever? It felt like, oh my gosh, like mentally, emotionally so exhausting. You're waiting and ticking down, waiting down for the conversation to end. Has that ever happened to you? And then, have you ever been in an environment where you went for a weekend and you went to go have fun, you spent all the time you wanted to do, you went where you wanted to go, you did what you wanted to do, and you went with who you wanted to go with, and the time went away like that? It felt like, oh man, just in the blink of an eye, time just flew by. The reason why is because sometimes time can be a measurement of emotion. Time can be a measurement of emotion. And so sometimes for us, what makes all the difference has less to do with the hours and more to do with the feelings within those hours. That 5-minute conversation feels way worse, even though it's 5 minutes, than spending a whole weekend with what exactly you want to do and the feelings that are exhilarated, and it feels like time just flies by rather than every time you're ticking down the second. And so choose and define the feelings you want your week to look like. And I can guarantee you that doesn't matter how many hours you're going to put in, it's going to feel a lot easier because you are operating with the feelings that you want. because time can be a measurement of emotion. Okay? The second reason why burnout might be a part of your life is because you're so focused on balance, but you don't realize that balance is a season. So the reason why burnout might be inevitable in your life is because you think balance is for forever. Balance is actually a season, not a specific thing you should strive for. There's two different seasons. There's a season of balance and a season of focus. When you're in focus, you're not in balance. And when you're in balance, you're not in focus. And it's your season of focus that earn you a season of balance. And so what's going to help it make it optional in your life is when you realize that balance is a season. So you got to ask yourself, are you in a season of balance or are you in a season of focus? When you allow that and you define that as a season rather than a complete lifestyle you need to live with, then burnout becomes less inevitable and it becomes more optional because you know, okay, I'm just doing this for the next 4 months and I can take it because your body can actually take a lot more than you even realize. What actually gets you going is your mind and your emotions. This is where your body will ultimately manifest what your mind or your emotions give it. That's why I have you focus on the feelings, not focus on the hours, and then define whether this is a season of balance or a season of focus. I've had a lot of my clients actually talk with their loved ones and their spouses, and the reason why I have them do that is because if they're going into a season of focus, what can cause friction on you accepting that it's a season of focus and feeling like you're out of balance is conflict with your loved ones. And so I have them sit down with their loved ones and define the season that they're going to be in for the next 6 months. What is our next 6 months going to look like? Okay, like my wife and I, for the next 6 months, I'm putting at least 12 to 14-hour days, and she is okay with that as long as I still take care of my son, still take care of my daughter, and spend time with her at least once a week. We do a date night, but she's totally fine with me having late night meetings, totally fine with that. Why? Because we've defined that it's a season of focus, not a season of balance. Season of focus is also a season of no. So it makes out burnout optional rather than inevitable. Okay? So define your season, have those conversations with your loved ones, and it'll make it so much easier. Okay? So another reason, third reason why burnout is inevitable in your life is because you're focusing on the things you're doing. Here's what I mean. You're like, what in the world, Christian? Like, how does this have to do with burnout? Well, simple. You don't get burned out for the things you do. You get burned out for the things you don't do. When you don't exercise every day, when you don't eat well, when you don't actually bring joy or do a sense of gratitude on that day, when you don't actually make real progress, you're just doing a lot of busy work or activity. So burnout doesn't come from the things that you do. It comes from the things that you don't do. So when you start focusing on the things you're doing versus the things that if you don't do, you'll get burned out, then guess what? Burnout will become inevitable in your life. So you want to focus on the things that will sustain you. Okay? Because one of the secrets that I had that one of my clients that did 96 hours. Okay, for him, I had him focus on the peak performance practices that were foundational in his life that we established. So that way he was able to do 96 hours, still be able to handle everything, still have a sense of humor at the end of it, still inspire people and make real progress on real change while he's in a lifelong relationship, okay? So for you, focus on the things that if you don't do, you'll get burned out rather than things you're doing. I am more busy now than I was when I was in my teen years. I'm infinitely more busy. Some of my clients, 60 years old, they are more busy now than they were when they were 25, okay? But you know what has them keeping on going? It's not the things that they're doing. It's the things that they know that if they don't do, they'll get burned out, which is why they're continually moving forward. So don't focus on the things that you're doing. Focus on the things that you don't do, okay? Burnout is less to do on things you do and more on the things you don't do. Now, the fourth reason why burnout is inevitable in your life is because you're passionate, not obsessed, okay? You're passionate, not obsessed. Passion is fleeting. Passion is fleeting. Obsession endures. Obsession endures. There was a great quote that I've heard from an incredible investor, and he says, passion is for losers, obsession is for winners. But if you think about this, you can be passionate about a lot of things, but you're obsessed with very few things. And with my clients, I'm like, what are you obsessed with? What are the things that you're willing to give up time, you're willing to give up money for, you're willing to give up sleep for? What are those things? And if you keep focusing on doing those things that continually cause you to be obsessed, your burnout will be away from your life. It'll be optional in your life rather than inevitable in your life. If you're just focusing on what you're passionate about, if the passion keeps causing pain, then ultimately what's going to happen is in your nervous system, you're going to link that up and you're like, I don't want that anymore. Versus an obsession that even if it has some pain attached to it, there's an obsessive moment or obsessive feeling that you're continually going after. It could be with legacy, it could be with calling, it could be with purpose, it could be with getting to your next level, it could be improving yourself, it could be you not being embarrassed, it could be whatever that thing that's going to cause you to be obsessed. Okay, go after that. And when you allow that more into your life, you'll be more on fire for the other things that you're not on fire about. The more you allow obsession into your life, the more obsession also starts to affect the other areas in your life you're not really that obsessed with. That's what I've seen with most of my clients, where it's literally like, okay, we have them focus on their obsession. All of a sudden they get a lot more passionate or obsessed about things they didn't care about before, that they felt like was just drudgery, was because we connected those things into their passion. And so the thing for you is to get obsessed. Get obsessed. So 4 reasons why burnout's inevitable in life, because you focus on the hours, not on the feelings. 4 reasons why. Another second reason is because you think balance is for forever. No, balance is a season. Okay, you need to find your season, whether you're in a season of focus or season of balance. Third reason why is because you focus on the things you're doing. No. Focus on things that will sustain you. Don't focus on the things you do, because burnout is not on the things you do, it's on the things you don't do. Fourth reason is because you're passionate, not obsessed. So for you, get obsessed. Find the things that you're obsessed with. Spend more time on that. And it doesn't matter if you're working 60, 70 hours. If you're focused on the area of your obsession, it'll become a lot more lighter. It'll feel like you're doing 30 hours in a week rather than 70. And so if this really helped you get out of a place of burnout and open your mind for you to see where you're really at and where you should go, hit subscribe, because I'm going to start putting more videos, and I'm grateful if this resonated with you. And if this resonated with you, share it with a friend, because ultimately high achievers need to not feel like they're alone. And so again, thank you. My name's Christian Santiago, peak performance coach who helps executives, investors, and surgeons operate at their peak and eliminate burnout in 90 days without adding more to their schedule. Subscribe, and I'll see you more in the next video.